Hello everyone, welcome to my review slash analysis of the FEH banner, I guess. I don't know really how to call this. I guess you could just say it's my thoughts on the FEH channel. I did say this a lot on my stream, but I do feel like people are focusing on the bad of the FEH channel, which ironically enough is on some of the most irrelevant stuff, in my opinion. Though, well, I'll get to that last. The FEH Pass is going to be something I'll be covering at the end of this. I want to focus on the more important aspect of the FEH channel. So, alright, let's get started. I'm gonna just skip ahead a few minutes because this is just completely useless. If you're wondering why Hector decided to replace the owl instead of whoever the heck it was before, this is because the Japanese VA of FEH is on maternity leave, and therefore, at least that's what I heard. I believe she's on maternity leave, and that's why she has been replaced by this dapper little boy. But yeah. So, choose your legend. Result surprises no one. Dimitri, best guy of the male division, and Elgard, best girl, quote unquote. It feels like it's mostly people who have not played more than just one path that voted for her personally, but that's just me. Let's see if you're being second place is probably the best case scenario, to be honest. So, yeah, not much to say here. I honestly don't care. Outside of Dimitri being number one, I don't give a damn. Moving on to this. Third anniversary Hero Fest banner. I honestly could not care less. Year 2, how can I put this? This is Choose Legend 1, 2, and 3. Well, actually, it's later posted. Celebratory structure, nobody cares. FEH support quest, I have no clue what that even entails, but honestly, I do not care. Third anniversary present, that's the 333 Grail, which was fantastic. Honestly, just them giving Grails more would be a really good way to celebrate stuff, because let's be honest, Grail is more precious than orbs at this point. If you need 200 orbs to get like one copy on average of the thing you want, right? And they give you 40, aka 20% of something, it's not worth anything. At the end of the day, 200 Grails will always give you the same thing, which is something you're aiming towards, so it's like, at worst, 40% of a copy of something, and this is 333, which is even better. I don't know why it took them this long to start giving us Grail as, like, celebration, but that's at least a really good move to do. 333 Grails is literally, if you're pretty good at AR, you're going to get this in 4 weeks. A month. It's basically a month of Grail they just gave off like that. Which is pretty cool. Then there's this. Login bonus, wow, surprise, surprise. Daily bound hero battle revival, but by the way, the quests are not always orbs, sometimes you'll have 500 feathers. As if 500 feathers and 1 orb are even comparable. Like, yes, orbs, at this point you need a lot if you want to get something you want, like, consistently. But like, 500 feathers? That is like nothing more often than not, so eh. Third anniversary reward map, that's cool. That's like, I think we have like something like 7, so like 14 orbs, which is cool. And Hero Rises, the guaranteed 5-star special hero, is just as bad as last year. Moving on. So yeah, the first Hero Fest is going to be, well, or rather, the 3 Hero Fests are going to be Choose Your Legend. Choose Your Legend 1 has like really good units. In fact, if you compare them to Choose Your Legend 2, Ephraim's a bit iffy, but he's probably the best unit in terms of combat prowess of the bunch. Brave Hector is kind of irrelevant nowadays. Celica was not good even on release, let alone now. though she's a good armor check in AR with Armor Smasher and Double Lion. Veronica is Veronica, of course she's decent. But like, year 2 essentially units I would pull for are like, if you're really struggling in AA, I'd say a copy of Celica, and Veronica in general is decent, though you probably already got her from the free summon, and you don't really need more than one copy, therefore, it's kind of irrelevant. On the right side, though, you have Brave Roy, which is comparable to Eliwood, which just having another Gale Force unit in general that does not require Heavy Blade is really cool. Brave Ike is busted beyond all measure. Brave Lucina is a fantastic support unit, and Bravelyn is just Bravelyn. At this point, she's kind of the worst of the 4, ironically enough. So, yeah, like, this is the last Hero Fest is probably going to be the best one. 5% is really good. That said, they also appear on weekly banners, which have, honestly, about the same rates, and you have less chance of getting Pity Fisted. So, I just keep that in mind, I guess. As for the year 3 Choose Your Legend unit, it's probably one of the worst batch we've got. Like, even on release, Alm is not good. Camilla should really just have gotten not a Pref Gravity, but a Pref Witchy one, but for some reason they decided Gravity was relevant. Elwood is really good, because Beast Killers, and those are very scarce. But honestly, most of the Beast units that are dangerous are green at this point, and if they're not green, they're Kangas, which, if you're finding a high investment Kangas, that might be a problem even with what he has, though more often than not he should be fine. Still, the thing is, finding these beast units is rare in Arena, so it's not as important a check, and Micaiah is pretty solid, but requires outside support because her beast skill is not enough more often than not. Especially if units spread themselves open. It's honestly, I was expecting an actual Hero Fest with like Igran, Nyla, characters like this that people actually really want. Either for fodder or for like unit. Instead we got this, which is meh. Honestly, I do not care. None of these Hero Fest are really worth pulling for. Outside of the last one, because Brave Lucina is absolutely ridiculous, and Brave Ike's is as well, but like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The free tickets are nice, I guess. Then we have the BHBs. BHBs are cool, I guess. We don't get an orb for all of them, so that's kind of meh. It's a free summon, I guess, and you'll have a 1-day focus for Hector if you need Distinct Counter. Again, this is like the 4th or 5th unit with Distinct Counter we've seen like in the past 2-3 weeks. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. I love how Corrin has 2 BHBs also, for some reason. Anyway, moving on. Honestly, none of these really have any characters that are too good to go for. And most of the ones that are decent are also on a weekly banner, and weekly banners are just inherently better. Like, why in God's name would you summon on a Celica Roy Lina banner, for example? Why would you summon on a Celica banner or Alm banner when, you know, they share focus, when you could just be smart and wait for the weekly banner? It's just kind of pointless overall. Just wait for the weekly banners. That's basically all I have to say about this. It's a free summon. Leave it at that. Okay, so the reward maps are indeed 13, not 7. That's 26 Orb. That's cool. Now, this here is just them not learning from last year. It was bad last year. It's bad this year. The amount of people I know who ended up pulling something from this that they actually like are like 10%, 20%. I summoned green, to give you an idea. I had 6 chance out of 10 of getting either something new or something good. Or I could have gotten Walt. I could have gotten Grail. Walt for Brazen Attack Speed 4 for Leaf. Grail for Fury 4. green dual flyers for Veronica, and in general, if you have not done your summons yet, green is the best color personally, and then red is the second. But yeah, I ended up pulling a New Year Left, one of the most underwhelming unit of the bunch. Thanks. Really reminds me of Summer Leo from last year and the Summer Tana when I already had the +2. Very cool. Low speed def is cool, but it's extremely niche compared to low attack speed or low attack def, so eh. Maybe one day it's gonna be useful, otherwise it's just gonna collect dust for now. In general, if you're going to do something like this, you know what they should do? Just pick one unit per color, you get to choose, okay? So like, for example, I would take Bright Fjorm, despite the fact I despise Fjorm, she's a good unit and has good utility. I would have taken Welp, I would have taken blue would be either Summer Lake Yarn, just so I have more, not, well, I guess Altina counter to some extent. Or I would have taken New Year Alphonse. And then red I would have been either Ishtar, because it's Ishtar, duh. Or I guess Hector. One of each color, and then just do the replacement for, I think it was called Searching and Find Heroes, which allowed you to get a banner of 4 characters based on votes. Well, basically, you get to choose all characters of each colors. So then, regardless of the unit you get, which might not be exactly the unit you want, you'd actually get something good. Like, if I get Ishtar, or Summer Lake Yarn / New Year Alphonse, or Winter Sophis, I guess, or Walt, in my case, or Bright Fjorm, like, I would be happy regardless of the outcome. But the fact that it's like, oh look, I could get Grail, I could get Walt, I could get Winter Sophis, or I could get a dupe. I could get, I guess, just Mist, which is also a dupe, or Inoka, which has like a cool dagger if there was good dagger units that do not rely on their pref. Yeah, it's kind of very hit or miss. You either get something you really want, or you're just thrown in garbage. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on this. A Hero Rises. I have never seen more spagoot from this. By the way, I may sound like I'm complaining a lot, but I'm just basically trying to give criticism on here. And at the same time, this is not the main thing that makes this FEH channel really good. We'll get to that later. A Hero Rises. I have 2 problems with this. The main issue with A Hero Rises is that, first off, this is basically decided by just people voting, okay? And then it's a voting gauntlet. Again, you could have just made so it's a vote per color, and then make it a something similar to the Brave banner when you get to pick something like this, like Legendary Leaf winning colorless, I guess Altina for red, New Year Alphonse for blue, or Nyla, and then for green, I guess Winter Sophis, something like that, right? So then anyone's happy, because they at least have one choice that would be good. They actually would get to choose instead of being like, well, I hope my unit wins, but it's voting gauntlet, which is like the least consistent thing ever. I do not like this. Another thing is that I can see people voting for characters that should not really get in the voting gauntlet. There's really only 9 characters that should be voted for, in my opinion. Those characters are... For red, there's Altina, because really good unit in general. Igrin, because really good unit, has also Special Spiral and Life and Death 4 as fodder. Legendary Eliwood, because he has a ton of utility. Larcey, because in general she's really, really good. She is one of the best sword units alongside Altina. For blue would be New Year Alphonse or Nyla. New Year Alphonse because close counter and special spiral, as well as a very good unit, on top of having a duo skill that is useful for the majority of people. I mean, it's for infantry units. Come on, there's so many people that could use this. Nyla has distant counter and no C disrupt, still the only user of it, and is also a very strong unit. When there's Sophis, really good unit, distant counter, special fighter, sorry. And threatened attack res, I guess. 3, sorry. And for colorless, there's Legendary Olm, who does not really have good fodder, but is a good unit. Legendary Leaf, which is comparable to Olm, but has also attack res push 4. And Fallen Corrin, because she is stat vomit incarnate. Those are like the 9 units you should be voting for, in my opinion. I may have missed 1 or 2 here or there, but that's the main ones I can actually safely say would be good picks. Because you have to realize, if a new player picks up the game, then, hey, starting with Legendary Leaf, that's fantastic. Starting with Winter Sophist, that's fantastic. Starting with New Year Alphonse, that's fantastic. Starting with a unit that is only fodder and a bad unit, that's not good. Or how about an armored unit when a new player typically does not have armor march? Winter Sophist is a bit exempt from this purely for one reason. She's just so good at not dying that it does not matter, and you can just use Smite instead of armor march at that point. But even then, that's probably the most iffy choice of the bunch, in my opinion. Those are the 9 unit, really. Because they have good fodder, good, and are also good units, and are very, new player friendly. But here's another thing they've done, which I honestly really dislike. Winning heroes will be gifted between the, I think it's March 11th and April 10th. Now, why do I say that's bad? Very simple. They basically are not doing a Xenologue like they've done with Legendary Ike. Any new player can get Legendary Ike. Whereas here, the winning hero is only distributed if you log in during this time period. It's not on a Xenologue or anything of the sort, which is deplorable to say the least. Having access to a new unit like this for a new player is just fantastic. If you start the game and you get like a push like this, you are in a fantastic position. But if you start like on the fucking April 12th, well, you just get nothing. You're still stuck with just Legendary Ike, Air, which is not really great outside of AR, Fjorm, which you need to merge to really make shine, and Peony, which is actually pretty solid for a new player. Yikes. Personally, I find that pretty disheartening. Now, I'm going to be raining on People's Parade for this banner, and just say one thing. These are not really good units. Let me just put it this way. These are the stats for all the units. Thank you, Lunico, for putting this together. Faye is an armored unit. That's great. Great. Armored units are great with no speed. Yes. Death Blow 4 is such a good fodder as well. Fucking... I cannot say this with a straight face. Conrad can be good. The problem with Conrad, though, is that you need to pull 11 copies for him to work. He's one of those units that needs to be high merged to function. And that kind of makes him a bit iffy. Alm is good because he's Alm, which is just... I don't like that personally. I like to know, like, stuff that other than lords getting good stuff. Like... Look at me, guys. I have Legendary Alm as a unit. I also have this now, I guess. I have no clue what Scepter of Love does. Bonus doubler and low attack speed is really good. Moving on. Rudolph is the only other unit of the banner that I feel like might be decent because he has a pref that has cooldown -1. We know this because he procs Bonfire in combat and then is still at 2 cooldown after it. So it's definitely cooldown -1. It depends on what Thornlands does, and Silk is, depends on what the staff is. Maybe she'll be good fodder, otherwise she's gonna be just worse than her base variant. I do not know why they think that cav units are so good. Basically, this is 2 cav units, 2 armors, and then Alm. I suppose that when you're a duo hero, you just don't care about rules of banners. Still, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Cavs and armored units are some of the most underwhelming units right now. They need new stuff. And not something like Daring Fighter, which is extremely niche and irrelevant because it's good on like 2 units. Okay? Or Odd Follow-Up, which is really only good in AR or mode like this, where you are in control. They need something that actually helps them do well. As for the rest, there is another thing I want to point out. So, Silk is going to be the free unit, moving on. Conrad. So, this right here is cool. I like the fact that they had a new 4-star focus with this, and I hope it remains and become a consistent thing. My problem with this, well, there's 2 problems. The 4-star unit can also be available at 5. Meaning when you see it on screen, you will do one of 2 things. You'll be like, oh fuck, am I getting my pity fisted, or am I just getting the unit I want? Remove the 4-star focus from 5-star. Please. Because I don't know if they actually, you know, really talk about this more than just this screen here. I think that's all they gave as info. Unless the Ideal is saying something. Going forward, special hero summoning, so I guess that's for everything. So it is going to stay this way. We'll feature the appearance rate shown here. And that's kind of just all we know. All I have to say is, if they are 4-star, they should not be in 5-star as well. Because at this point, first off, it makes the banner a 3-man banner. 3-man banners are a lot kinder with raids. Honestly, that's just a boon in general. 3-man banners have such better rates that a 4-man banner typically has 2.5% chance, okay, of pulling a 5-star for red. The same color, however, with 3 characters, has 3.33% chance on average, or I think right now it's 3.45% chance of getting a 5-star from red on a 3-man banner. So making it a 3-man banner is just a lot more easy for people, and that's fantastic. But from what I understand, it seems Conrad will also be 5-star, and that's a bad move, personally. It's a great idea to make a 4-star focus. Every other gacha does this. They typically have a 5-star focus, a 4-star focus, a 3-star focus, and then sometimes a 2-star focus, depending on the game. To give you an idea, one of the gachas I played do a 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, but that's because every unit can receive an extra 2 stars of rarity. In other words, it's basically a 6-star, a 5-star, and a 4-star. Another gacha I play is typically doing a 5-star, 3-star, 2 2-stars, or 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star. So, I'm kind of surprised it took them this long to do, but it's a really good move to do. And with that said, moving on. So, the FEH Pass, as I said, I'm skipping this right now. I'm going to put this at the end of the video. So this here, this is the thing that everybody just seemed to ignore for some reason, even though it's one of the most busted feature that we're getting. Honestly, I'm shocked that they even did something like this. I was hoping for something similar to this, where characters would only have where you'd basically get manual with fodder and nothing else, but they went an extra step. So to put it simply, this here. So first off, I want to point out the fact that there's a scroll bar on the right, meaning there's not only 2 paths, there's more like 6. Well, this was pointed out by Joey from my Discord. Essentially, 2 things to note with this. You can just get the unit for free from this, and then merge it into a different unit, because those are basically combat manual. Combat manual can be used to merge up a unit, which means, say for example, I have a merge project for, let's say Nyla. And Nyla is the last unit of a path. Which is likely, by the way. Well, I could just get all the units, get the Nyla copy, and merge it into my Nyla. My Nyla is already plus 10 personally, so that's not exactly a problem. But that's still an insane thing to do. And this includes seasonal, meaning stuff like Brazen Attack Speed 4 could be available through this. And I do want to point out another thing. In case you have not realized, the last unit of every path seems to have a 300 SP skill. Summer Levitain has Mirror Impact, and Cliff has Fortress Defrez. These are not easy skill to get. And not only are they not easy skill to get, they're also some core skills. Sturdy Impact could be available also, which, in case you have not realized yet, Sturdy Impact is a very, very good skill for a lot of units, like Brunia, for example. Which means that a lot of builds that seems hopeless to get to will now be possible through this feature. That is insane. I do not understand why nobody is talking about this. Hey look, Ilgris Speed Tactic, for example. Fjorm has attack speed Link as well as attack speed Form, I believe. Pala is a great unit in general, especially now that Sturdy Impact is a thing. You could have a merge of this. This does not give you the unit, so you do have to have the base unit if you decide to merge. But that's still really good. You don't get IVs either, so there's that too. But depending on the price, if it's something like 1,000 Divine Codex to get the entire path, honestly, that's pretty insane. 1,000, that's what I'm expecting. 1,000 Divine Codex for this would basically just be, on average, a month. Once, you know, the tiers in Mjolnir Strikes are really fixed, it should be every 3 months you'll be able to afford a skill like Mirror Impact, Sturdy Impact, Fortress Defrez, Distant Counter, No See Disrupt. Skills like this will be made available. That's kind of busted, honestly. And as you can see, even Year 3 units on there. Summer Levitain is a Gen 3 unit. I don't think Gen 4 unit will be on there, so I don't think Ygren will be on there. If she's on there, I'm going to scream, because that's honestly insane to just be able to get a free merge like this. I don't think Legendary or Mythic unit will be on there either, but still, this is a insanely good feature. Like, for example, I could just go for Bright Sita, because I like Bright Sita, therefore I can just get a free merge like this. This is insane, and this is another thing. These are basically special divine codes. I have no clue how to get those. I don't know how much it's gonna cost. But the thing is certain. You can stockpile them, and maybe a seasonal you really like would appear on there. This is important because that would mean that plus 10ing a seasonal would be made a lot more feasible, potentially. Which is honestly shocking. And on top of this, this is unlimited. So say you are a new player and you struggle getting Desperation, for example, and Shanna is available, you can just get a copy of that. Or Reposition. Or any of such things. This update is insane for this. This is basically, honestly, this feature alone makes this the best fetch channel we've got since maybe the introduction of refines, in my opinion. Because a lot of times, you know, when I do showcase of builds, people just go up to me and go like, I just cannot afford this. This is like a lot of very expensive skills. Well, now you can actually do those builds. Maybe it will take time to collect those codex. That's fine. But still, that's insane. Time will tell just how good it's going to be, and time will tell how pricey it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be less pricey than I think. Maybe it's going to be more pricey than I think. Either way, the sheer fact that very premium skills are now going to be very obtainable is amazing, honestly. So, I believe this will come out not this month, nor the next, but like in April or something. But yeah. Now, for the FEH Pass, this has spawned quite a bit of controversy, but I'm going to be completely honest and say this. I don't get it. Now, before you dislike the video right away, I do want to make a few points. Because I did make those points on my stream and a lot of people kind of just went, oh. Oh yeah, that kind of just makes sense, doesn't it? The one problem I will say though before we start is not really the FEH Pass itself. The FEH Pass itself to me is fine. There is one thing I kind of wish they would not do, but it's fine. But this is the problem. You see this? USD is cheaper than euros, okay? But for some reason, for some godforsaken reason, they make a 949 USD pass 1149 in euros. As far as I'm aware, I believe in euros 950 is basically 850. More or less, give or take. So they are basically making them pay an extra €3 for no reason. That I don't understand, and this should be rectified. For the love of God, please rectify this shit. It does not make sense. It's literally a like more expensive currency, but you make them pay more of it. What? For those who don't understand, the amount of 1150 euros would be about 13 USDs. I don't understand this. This is literally like I think it's about an increase of 40% in price. I am shocked that this is real. Now, let's talk about the FEH Pass itself. So, 5 benefits. The first one being the Resplendent and the Resplendent heroes. I hate this title, but to put it simply, what it does is basically allow older units that are behind in BST, behind in stat, that are really just not that great anymore to actually shine a bit more, or to have a bit of an edge, or to also get their art enhanced. A lot of people complain about Cordelia, and Cordelia got a Resplendent Heroes alt, for example. Personally, I never really liked Lynn's art, and this actually looks attractive to me, which is a fucking change. I've never really liked Lynn's design, personally. To me, Lynn is just a bootleg Ira as far as character is concerned, because that is factual. They based Lynn off of Ira because they based off Hector off of Lex. And Lex and Hyra are canonically married, I believe, in the manga, so they kind of tried to replicate this, and that's why Lynn x Hector is a ship, I guess, because that's the same kind of more or less chemistry as Ira and Lex. Moving on. So basically they get 2 across the board. Now, I've seen a lot of worry about this, but let me just clear a few things. I just do not think they're going to be doing this for stuff like Fallen Core. I think they're going to do this for units that you know, people like but have fallen off because they're Gen 1 BST. George, for example, could get something like this, and suddenly he would be a lot better. Lyn is another example. Lyn is actually pretty trash as a sword, and even with the 2 across the board, she's not going to be that amazing. But it kind of gives her a bump. Not to mention, it's also a way to give alts to characters that are very popular, i.e. Hector, Eliwood, Lyn, without wasting space on a banner. Look, I'm sure people like Heffron, I'm sure people like Erica, I'm sure people like Hector, I'm sure people like Eliwood. In fact, I like Eliwood. I'm sure people like Lyn, I'm sure some people like Camilla, but for God's sake, I don't want an 8th Camilla or a 7th Lyn or anything of the sort. So this is a way to basically give alts to those to people without, you know, wasting spot on a seasonal banner, which personally I find is a good move. It's smart because it allows people to enjoy characters they already have and potentially make them a lot more viable, especially Cordelia, or get a new skin that makes them a lot more fun to look at, especially Cordelia, who looks depressed, which, you know, is pretty welcome for a lot of people that plays this game. Hey, a lot of people plus 10 Cordelia, and now they're able to just have a version of her that does not look like crap. Cool. Personally, I don't find that she's really looking awful, but I know there's people who do, and that would be a pretty welcome change. Now, there are people that have been complaining about the fact that, you know, we are getting alts, it's on a subscription setting, but you have to realize, where the heck do you think the money to pay the artist is going to come from? If they just give alts like this for no reason. There's a reason why there's a subscription bonus, because that way they can pay the artist, while also delivering, you know, alternate alt to characters they like. Now, another thing about Resplendent heroes is that once you unlock them, they stay on your account forever. I just want to point that out because there are people who actually thought otherwise. So essentially, if you have a character you really like that gets an alt, for example, I would really like a Niffle version of Deirdre because that would really go well with the color scheme. I feel like that would be really pretty, and on top of that is it's extra stats to a unit that could actually shine a bit more with those extra stats. Cool. It makes an older unit more viable. Hell yeah. I'm fine with this. Yes, it's extra stats hidden behind a paywall, but at the end of the day, I do not think those stats will matter to you. If you find the unit in Arena, first off, congratulations, that's kind of weird. But, let's say you do find it in Arena, I don't think the alt is going to give stats in that mode, personally. It's basically going to be something similar to a Summoner support, aka Summoner supports are applied to your game, but they're not applied to enemy units when you fight people, you know, and those people have their Summoner support unit. Which, to me, is fine. We don't know this for sure, though, so take this with a grain of salt. Another thing is that since it's only for Gen 1 unit, and maybe Gen 2, but I'm kind of not expecting this. I'm saying Gen 2 because some lords have popped up only in Gen 2. And by some, I really mean only one, which is Leaf. So, you know, Leaf getting an alt like this kind of just makes sense. At least that's the way I look at it. Like I said, it's mostly for Gen 1 and Gen 2 unit, so I'm fine with it. Unless it's a really broken Gen 2 unit like Glowwind, for example. I don't think Glowwind should get an alt like this. But unit like Deirdre, unit like Base Faye, unit like Base Alm, sure. It kind of just makes sense. And if it's slugged behind a paywall, I mean, at the end of the day, how many of your fan favorites are going to get one? If you have to pay maybe, $9.50 once in the entire year because one of your favorite unit is getting an alt like this, then sure. I mean, it's not exactly breaking your bank or anything. I mean, personally, I would like Hell, like a Hell-themed Heldigan, for example. I would like a Niffle-based Deirdre. Nifl in general has such a cool aesthetic to it, no pun intended, that you can just like apply to a lot of characters. Leaf, personally, I would like a must-spell based version of him. You know, that's just the way I look at things. In a lot of cases, getting the extra stats like here is not going to be so game-breaking that you will need it in order for the unit to be good. Okay? Unless it's a unit you really like and you really want to be using constantly, like you're basically a Zerker level of fanatic with Lyn. Nobody knows Zerker, I think, on my channel, but he's a YouTuber that really likes Lyn, essentially. Like, if you're someone that just really likes the character, then at the end of the day, are you really complaining about your favorite character getting more art? I know I don't. I mean, if Deirdre would get an alt like this, and even from the point of view of someone that does not spend much, I spend a lot personally, but like, let's say someone spends more or less something similar to what I do. No, more, or rather, someone spends, but like only on stuff like the BK pack. This is not a bad move to do. So personally, it's fine. And then Cordelia is the second one, which, again, as I said, a lot of people complained about how the art looks, and this is pretty welcomed. I have no clue who did the art, but it does not feel like Mayo, so I think this is probably the best looking version of Cordelia, to be honest. Same thing with Lyn. This is probably her best looking version. As for the other things, now this here, I'm going to say a few things about this. A lot of people have been looking at this from the fact that it's a subscription, that it's, you know, a premium thing. But the way I look at things here is it's basically just a glorified bundle, okay? For $9.50, you basically get 10 orbs, because you get to do the quest twice, 100 Grail, and I believe 240 Divine Codex page. Yeah, 240. Cool. It's basically just free resources. For the same amount of money, you'd basically get 15 orbs or so, by the way. So for 15 orbs, you get 10 orbs, 240 pages of Codex, on top of 100 Grail. I mean, it's a bundle. Have you complained about, you know, the fucking New Year packs? Have you complained for the Christmas packs? You know, those packs that had free units on there if you know, spent. Because it's more or less the same thing here. At the end of the day, it's just basically a bundle for people to buy. And guess what? This is like the best bundle we've ever gotten. Honestly, this... If you look at this from the perspective of a bundle, it's better than the BK pack, in my opinion. Because you actually get Grail that you can put in any unit of your choice. And you get Divine Codex pages, which also means that you can get more fodder for units you like. I suppose from one aspect it's pay to win, but I mean, it's a gacha game. It is pay to win by nature. I don't understand why people complain about that part. Now, another thing we get is the expanded summoner support, which is a quality of life, I guess. And it makes sense that it's a perk locked behind a paywall. I don't understand why this should be just available for free, but personally I feel like this does not make that much of a difference gameplay-wise. It will hurt, I guess, to some extent your defense in AR, but typically, even in AR, summoner supports are annoying to deal with because they're typically on your tank. The reason why, you know, you always have your summoner support on Brave-like is because he can tank shit. If you had a summoner support on something like Genki or Legendary Azura, it doesn't matter, it still dies like nothing. So, this is not that big of a deal as far as AR is concerned, and it's really just, you know, an extra perk to give for the subscription bonus. So this one I'm completely fine with. This one, Okay, yeah, the React is the Phoenix mode, as I like to call it. Look, guys, this doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's basically just light blessings, but unlimited. But like bootleg light blessings. Just putting it this way, it's not that important. It really isn't. This is going to just help you save maybe 30 seconds on a legendary banner, or not legendary banner, but legendary hero battle, which... Why do people care? Personally, I don't get it. I really, really, really don't get it. And besides, the one time I was kind of scared was the fact that it could be used in Arena or Aether raids, which it's completely locked in, so... Cool, doesn't matter. It really does not matter. I mean, Abyssal GHBs are basically free. And that's the only time that you kind of need this kind of thing, outside of Arena and Aether raids. So this is a very minor quality of life, personally. Now, this one is the main one. So, this is the one I feel should be available to everyone. But even though it should be available to anyone, it should not matter all that much. Let me explain. So, can only be used in Training Tower, Tempest Trial, and Forging Bonds. So, let me put it this way. Can be used in Forging Bonds, but you don't have to battle Forging Bonds, unless you are not really smart about it. Typically what you want to do with Forging Bond is just to use units that do not have HM max, because you get a ton of HM from that mode. They double the HM you gain, so you get like 9.2 to 10 HM per map. Though I think it's more like 9.2 to 9.6, because I don't think you can find a map with 5 people, but I might be wrong. So typically you just have to be in control anyway, and besides the map are so quick that, I mean, it doesn't matter all that much. Here, like, another thing is that if you just, you know, try to grind HM and use auto start, you're going to be losing all of the encounters you're going to have, or you're going to lose 3/4 of your team every time, which means at that point, what do you get? You just get HM on one unit. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's very, very minor there. And Training Tower is kind of more or less the same. Temp Stratum, are you going to do this with this? Because that's literally all of the, basically all of the quests are in Temp Stratum. So you kind of just run into the same problem as Forging Bonds. If you auto Temp Stratum, you're going to lose this. You're going to lose fight here and there. Which, again, why would you bother? The mode where this would be the most useful cannot be used in. You can't use this in rival domains for HM grind. You can't use this against GHB for HM grind. You can't use this in the training maps, the daily training maps like melee armors, whatever. You can't do that there either, because it just doesn't work. And that's the 3 maps that would actually matter. I don't know what to tell you. This is very minor. Like, for the quest, you're not going to be able to use it for all of the quests. For Forging Bone, you're not going to be able to use it unless you just give up on, you know, getting HM in general, which, why would you? Tempest Trial is the only place I can see it being viable, because honestly, I auto-battle everything in Tempest Trial, because there's just so much to grind otherwise. Like, to give you an idea, Forging Bonds, I can go through all of it in 3 hours, I would say. Whereas Tempest Trial, I would have, if I, you know, would click through everything, probably would go through it in like 6, 7, or 8. So, you know, in Tempest Trial, it will be helpful. But again, is it that big of a deal? It's only for one mode that's available a third of a month, basically. Now, as I said before, it should be available to everyone. It's so minor anyway that it should not matter. It should just be available. But frankly, outside of this, that's like the only thing I can see being controversial in the entire FEH Pass. But that's just me. Another thing is that this here, the Resplendent hero, or Resplendent, whatever, that thing, I feel like they might just do something else with this, which is the fact that originally the how do you call this, the alts that you get, the alternate artwork basically that you get, could potentially be available in other modes. Now, here's the thing I think they could do, and this is something other games do. Essentially, whenever there's ranking happenings, like for example, let's say Grail Conquest, for example, they could just do something like, hey, the top 10 of Grail Conquest gets the skin. This would push people to actually try to do it, to act in the mode and do their best in the mode. And just make it so that like the top 10 of every round would basically get, say, Lynn's alt, for example. Or the top 10 of Rocker Siege would also get Cordelia, I guess. There is a lot of ways to actually introduce this in the game over time, but then make it premium at first, aka it's more available for people who are willing to dish out money, and then later people will actually want to try hard to get those alts. That's the way I look at things. Maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't, but we'll see. Personally, that's what I do. I just wait about 6 months, and then I try to do the Resplendent hero one by one. Try to put two in per month, because at the end of the day, 6 months is a long time, right? So, hey, the person that paid for it got it, way faster, whereas the person that didn't will get it maybe later, depending on how hard they try for the the unit. Personally, that's what I do. Overall, the FEH Pass is really good. I would say this here is honestly very cheap. I just want to point this out, right? There are people out there, me included, that have spent... What was the pack? I think it was the 140 orb pack that was on New Year that gave 200 Grails. There's people that actually spend this because at the end of the day, you just buy the orbs for a different banner anyway, so might as well just get the orbs and the Grails. I've done that personally, and being able to get 100 Grail for $9 or $10, I guess, if you want me to, round up. That's pretty cool. It's not game breaking, but it's a little, a little bump. For players that are willing to spend for it. Personally, it just means I'm going to be able to plus Nembrunia 2 months earlier, which is honestly pretty cool. I'm fine with this. Or actually, a month earlier plus another month because of the free 333 Grail they gave away on the anniversary. So yeah, honestly, at this price, it's cheap as all hell. I was expecting $15 to $20, by the way, to give you an idea. That's the value I was giving to the pack. $9.50 is extremely cheap. Again, I'm not saying that the fact that they hid the quality of life update of the whole, multi-fight for Tempest Trial, and then the other two places that it's not really viable to use it in. This should have been just available for everyone. I feel like that's what it should be, but the rest, honestly, is fine to be locked behind a paywall. Saying this from the point of view as of someone that doesn't spend a whole lot on most games. Outside of Heroes, because there's a lot of characters I really just like in this series. What can I say? If it wasn't for the characters, I would not be playing this game. Or a series, for that matter. But yeah. Overall, it's really not that bad. I feel like it has been exploded to ridiculous amount. It's kind of ridiculous. I feel like what happened is people kind of just saw subscription pass and went like, read, without even like reading what the contents are. Because most of this just kind of makes sense to be behind a paywall. Man, free art for new characters? Why the fuck would it be free? Do you think that artists, you know, work for free? Because if that's the case, you're completely wrong, my dude. And therefore, all of this just kind of makes sense. And not to mention, people that have genuinely, for some reason, completely just ignored that this feature is a thing, just because of the subscription pass, just shocks me. Though I feel like the subscription pass should have been at the very end of the FEH channel, so people would actually not forget that this is a thing. It feels like people just saw the subscription thing and just clicked off after, because I have seen literally nobody talking about this, and this is an insane feature. But yeah, I think that's about all I had to say here. This FEH channel, personally, was one of the best. Again, the best, the only time where a FEH channel was this good to me was probably the introduction of refines and legendary refines also, because it opened a door to, first off, Slaying Edge being more available, and as well as all of the other slaying weapons. It also, you know, opened the way for extra stats, leveling up the ground between prefs and non-prefs. It did a lot of good things, and honestly, I really like it for that. But after that, it just never managed to hit that high for me ever again. Sacred Seals were close, but it's so the system is fairly limiting, and then you look at Squad of Soul giving you like the 8th HP seal for some reason. It's just the Sacred Seal system should just be revised to some extent. I feel like they should just stop giving stuff like attack +3 as seals, and instead give stuff like an extra heavy blade seal, an extra flashing blade seal, seals that are used a lot, because that way it would be seals that people would be excited for, so Squad of Soul would have a lot more value to people. But that's just me rambling at this point, so hey. Hopefully you guys can be civil in the comments. I know that this is a more contentious subject than I usually cover, and you know, I'm not actually like pointing the game with a finger and saying, man, what a terrible FEH channel, like everybody is for some reason. I'm pointing out the goods, and I'm pointing out the one bad thing that I feel should be available to everyone. But with that said, I think this was insightful to, well, I hope it was insightful to people, and I'll leave it there. And with that said, I'll be seeing you all in the comments or on Discord. Have a nice one, everyone.